The Rosie and Bill Show wish to thank our primary sponsors. The Malin Agency, located in Springfield, PA, where they take pride in exceeding expectations every time. Anthony DeCecco and our friends at Tennis Addiction are ready to serve all your tennis needs at their beautiful facility in Exton, PA.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show. From the lyrics in his song, to the joy he brings performing for our troops, to spreading his love and appreciation for the outdoors on his popular TV show, Hoge Wild, our guest tonight truly understands the importance of connecting with others. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, singer, songwriter, and outdoorsman extraordinaire, Lucas Hoge. Hi, Lucas. Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's going to be fun.
It sure is, Lucas. And I'll tell you, we really appreciate this because we know you're busy, and anyone who's looked at your website or scrolled through any of your social media recently knows you've got a lot going on. We're going to try to cover as many of those bases as we can. And I have to tell you, though, one thing I wanted to start with was something you've said in the past, Lucas, about your music and your albums and how you like your albums to take your fans on a journey.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with us because we like our show and each episode to take our viewers on a journey. So
absolutely.
That said, let's start and kick things off with your journey, your musical journey, let's say. When did music become a part of your life? Where did it all begin for you?
Wow, that's a great question. And it started way back as a kid. I mean, honestly, I was probably 5, 6 years old. I can remember my first musical memories because, I mean, my family was a family of 6, mom and dad, 2 older sisters and an older brother. And we'd go up to this little country church in our little town of 44 people. And basically we were half the congregation was just our family alone. So there was the organist, the preacher, and then the choir, which was mostly my family and a few others. And that's when I started just loving music. I really got into it when mom and dad would go practice the worship music at the next town over at the parsonage house. The preacher would literally sit me in the corner with an electronic drum pad and just here, go play, have fun. And I started keeping perfect beat with them, and everything. She literally took me from one of those little practices that they were doing and took me into the school at probably 6 years old and said, you really need to, do something with this kid's talent because he's got natural rhythm, and it kind of started from there. I started playing drums at a really young age, and then, started picking up guitar, playing piano, everything I could get my hands on. I just wanted to learn how to play, wanted to learn everything that I could. And drums were kind of a pain to haul around. I started getting older and I was like, oh, the girls like guitar. So started learning how to play guitar. And then, quickly realized that, I liked singing as well, and just started doing everything that I could to get just deeper and deeper in the music world. I mean, and kind of the rest is history because I just literally went and got a quick degree at a tech school in Milford, Nebraska, and moved right to Nashville after that and started building houses to pay for my music habit until it took off.
Wow. You're one of those utility guys that could record a song playing every instrument and singing, right?
Well, I always say that I can play a lot of instruments, but I'm not professional in any of them except for guitar. When you see actual recording, instrumentalists go in and then they record your stuff, you're just like, oh yeah, no, I'm not even going to try. I could get my way through, a keyboard, thing, and I could play drums. I can play drums. I'm not a drummer by any means. I always say there's bass players and there's people who play bass,
That's true. That is a good distinction. But
yeah.
A through line that we have noticed on the show for the men musicians is that the allure of the women fans when they picked up an instrument or started singing definitely was a factor in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Come on, you're high school and things are going, people are trying to figure out themselves, it's like, of course, you need all the help you can get.
Yeah, there's something about like the front guy that girls go nuts for. Let's pivot now to your love for the outdoors. When did that start?
Again, as a young kid, I remember going with my dad and my uncles. I would just walk with them out in the field to go hunt pheasants and quail because I wasn't old enough to carry a gun. Dad would let me carry my BB gun, and to feel like I was out hunting. And I remember taking the hunter safety course before I was even old enough to take the course. I took it 2 or 3 times just because I wanted to go and learn everything that I could about hunting. And it was our teachers at the time in high school were the ones teaching the hunter safety class. And they would always be like, yeah, come on in. And we don't care. It doesn't matter because you're not going to get that license at the end. But I scored, perfectly every time on the tests, which was just fun. And so it made it really, really great to kind of help bring other friends in and get them into the outdoors as well as kids, because I still do that today. I try and take people on their first hunts, teach them how, why don't I understand this hunting thing? Why do you love it so much? I'm like, well, come with me one time. I'd love to show you about it, or tell you about it.
Lucas, real quick.
Yeah.
Would you say that there's a reverence for the animals that you hunt?
100%. Absolutely. First of all, my dad taught me how to respect the firearm that we're carrying around. I mean, whether it's unloaded, it's always loaded. You always respect that firearm like it's, king. And because it can do so much damage if you do the wrong thing with it, as we all know. And the second thing was to respect the animal that you're hunting and you're harvesting, because that's primarily what's going to feed your family. And God put these animals on the planet for us to harvest and to nourish our bodies in the most natural way that there ever has been. And so to me, to take the life of an animal is a very, very responsible thing to do. And there is definitely a reverence about each and every animal that I harvest, whether it's going frog in the swamps of Louisiana to hunting red stag in the mountains of New Zealand. It doesn't matter how big or small that animal is, you're still taking that life to feed your family.
Yeah, that is a great point of view, and definitely one that I personally respect a lot, Lucas. And I'll tell you, I did have something else I wanted to go into, but I have to pivot back for a second because it just hit me again that you said your town had 44 people in it.
Yeah.
in Nebraska. And
oh yeah.
I don't know much about Nebraska. I've been to Wyoming a couple times, and I know people there told me that the snow bypasses there and hits Nebraska.
A lot of times.
I know there's a heavy Scandinavian population in Nebraska because I'm Scandinavian.
Yeah.
But what did growing up in a town like that and in that area in the country, how did that help shape the person that you've ultimately become?
Gosh, I mean, it was the best. I would go back there tomorrow if I could and plant roots again. I mean, I love it. I love the people there. Love it. The way I grew up, it was amazing because I mean, we could literally take our bicycles and start riding down the dirt roads. And we did. We'd go 13 miles just to go to our friend's house just to play. And then we do it, ride home in time for dinner. It's just how it was. And mom and dad never worried about, somebody doing something bad or us getting hurt or anything like that, because I mean, that's just a great way of life. Now I don't know if it's the same. I haven't been back there in a long time. Mom and dad still live there, but I don't get to spend enough time. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, we as kids would literally, as soon as we became of age, would take our guns out and we'd leave early in the morning and not come back until dinner time and go hunting and shooting down in the creeks, going for squirrels and rabbits and you name it. It was just a way of life for us, and I wouldn't trade it for
so
the
you
world.
weren't glued to a video game or something like that, like so many other people are.
Oh, I remember getting Nintendo for the first time and I was like, oh my gosh, everybody had like Sega Genesises back then. We're just now getting like Nintendo One. I'm like, this is so cool.
Well, do you feel sorry for the kids nowadays?
I really do so much. I mean, God bless them. I love my nieces and nephews, but sometimes when you go back for a family gathering, everybody's just sitting there doing this. Nobody's talking. Even at airports. I mean, if you ever sit back and just look, nobody's looking at anybody, nobody's talking to anybody. And I think that's where a lot of this, I hate to come back to it, this hatred and frustration that people see, there's no genuine connection with humanity anymore. It's all it's all on a screen.
Yeah, you make a great point. And I think even in, the way we communicate sometimes, text and email versus a phone call, or,
Yeah.
we would love to be doing this face to face, but at least on Zoom, we at least get to see, there's still somewhat of that
Yeah.
physical connection as opposed to just, texting. And that's something,
Absolutely.
like, Rosie said in the intro, you clearly get it and you demonstrate that connection. And I think
Thank you.
I can't even think of anyone else who I've seen who can connect in so many different ways that you can. And one of those ways actually was my next question for you, which is, we've talked about music, we've talked about the outdoors, the way you connect and combine them in all you do so seamlessly. How are you able to do that? Whether it's through your videos, your songs, your outdoor, they just are married together in a way I've never seen.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I greatly appreciate that comment. Well, again, it all stems back to the fact that music and the outdoors for me was a way of life. From the beginning, it started out that way. It was all, all about music and the outdoors for me. And even when I finally moved to Nashville and started touring a lot more, and I would be doing these, fun shows, big shows, small shows, whatever, there would always be somebody to come up to me and be like, "Hey, I hear you love to hunt, or you love to fish, you love the outdoors." And they'd always invite me on something. And I literally, every single time, the first time somebody invited me, I was like, "Do not invite me unless you honestly want me to come," because I would show up every single time. And I did. And I started showing up to all these places, and these were extravagant hunts and hunts that I would never imagine myself getting to do coming from a small town in, rural Nebraska. Going on elk hunts and going to New Zealand to hunt stag and going fishing in Alaska. And I mean, all these places, never in a million years would I have thought, I'm going to get to do all these and it's not going to cost me anything,
Wow.
except for a lot of time and hard work,
Right.
and that it did. So to me, it just was always natural to meld the two together, because anytime we'd get done, wherever we were at during the day, we'd sit around a fire and I'd break out the guitar and play. And that was I always say my guitar has been my passport to everywhere in the world that I've ever gone.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you've gotten to have a lot of amazing experiences on your television show, Hoge Wild. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
How did that all come about, Lucas?
Again, it started back doing the touring and stuff, and people inviting me to come on these extravagant trips. And hey, the jet will come pick you up, or meet me here and we'll pick you up in a truck and we'll take you up in the mountains. I'm like, okay, I'll be there. If
Were
I'm
you
late,
ever afraid?
just wait. Never once was I afraid. I was like, I don't know these people, but we all are like-minded, it felt like. So, you always have that connection right off. You can pretty much tell if somebody's full of it, or they genuinely want you to come and be there. They're not just trying to pump up the room so that you'll talk to them, that kind of thing. It's usually everybody that's like, hey, we really want you to come. And it's paid off in dividends every time. Not only do you get amazing friends out of it, but the experience alone has just taken me so far. It really has.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a natural evolution. Was there ever an adventure that you had that was kind of scary, or you feared that you could get hurt?
Well, I go gator hunting with my friend Bill Petrus and David Hansen every season, and now I feel like I'm a natural at it, because those guys are such good teachers and they're great stewards of the land down there. They just have been doing it since they were kids, so they make it really, really fun and natural. But I guess if there was one situation or multiple situations, it'd be when I go overseas to play for the troops. Some of those times were pretty hairy, with bombs coming over the wall and people shooting at helicopters and things like that. And just a lot of that stuff can get pretty dicey when we were over there.
Wow. And that to me, Lucas, makes it even more impressive and more amazing. And I just have so much more respect for you doing that. And people like yourself, you don't just do it once or twice. You're doing it a lot, and you're literally doing it in harm's way. And because I think when Rosie asked that question, I don't think either one of us thought that's where it was going to go.
But yeah, well, a lot of people, I've got that question a few times, and it's usually not when we're hunting anywhere. My brain always goes back to, there's 2 or 3 incidences that happened when we were in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'd been on 10, 12 tours, over there every year, going over for about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks every single year during Memorial Day. So we'd start out the week before when we had a big Memorial Day celebration or wherever base we were at, and then we'd stay the week after. And there was a few times where, we're flying into some bases that technically don't exist. And we're the only civilians that have been there since conception of these places. And sometimes they're still eating MREs and they get one hot meal a day on Sunday. And they shared their hot meal with us, which was pretty heartwarming to think that we're eating somebody's meal. I didn't really want to, because I'm like, no, we're here to just say thank you, and we're gonna fly out of here, please. They're like, no, you have to eat a meal with us. And they always want to put food in your belly,
Right.
when you're over there. And
As you're talking about this, I'm just, like Bill said, I'm so impressed and so amazed. And
oh, thank you.
I'm wondering too, quite often when people serve in this way, do you feel that you are getting more from it than giving?
Oh, 100%. I feel honored that I kept getting asked to go over there, because a lot of times people are one and done, or maybe they'll get to do it a couple times. But I was fortunate enough to get to go from 2009 to 2019. And I did 2 back-to-back trips over in 2009. And it was incredible. I mean, I just felt like it was something that I had to do. I wasn't wired to go into the military. My dad was in the military. My cousins were in the military. My uncles were MPs in the military. Some were snipers. And I knew that I wanted to give back somehow, in some way. And this was the only way that I knew how I could give back in my minuscule thing that I could do, is to go over there and take them out of their element and just tell them thank you and bring a little bit of home, to them while they're over there. And yeah, it's humbling, rewarding all at the same time. And it's just a big thank you match. They're thanking us for coming over, and we're thanking them for all that they do for us. And
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible. It really is. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, and what's amazing about it, Lucas, is, and I know you get this, we don't get to do what we do if they're not doing what they do. And the
100%.
fact that you're, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk and going over there and doing that, again, kudos to you for doing that. And we know it's not minuscule to them. It's going to be huge to them. And I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about something that's maybe a little safer and a little more peaceful, say, than going over there overseas. And that's your Sunday sessions.
Yeah.
And could you just explain to our viewers kind of how they came about, like where it came from? Because I will tell you, I've seen many of them, and I know you've reposted some of them over the years on your social media.
Yeah.
And your version of "Open the Eyes of My Heart," the Michael W. Smith song, is
Oh, yeah.
oh my God, absolutely.
Oh.
Everybody's got to go check that one out.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shining in the light of the glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy.
But where did
you.
it all start? How did it all come about?
Well, I mean, when I was in college, it was tech school. I went for a associate's degree in architecture, business, and construction management. And I got tied into the church on the UNL campus. And so they needed a drummer. And I was like, yeah, I'll come in and drum. I'll play drums for you. That's when I quickly realized that I wasn't a drummer. I just knew how to play drums. And then I quickly kind of started flowing into the leadership role and being one of the worship leaders there. And I just fell in love with it, getting to bring people to the Lord every, Thursday and Wednesday night was really, really cool. and doing it in song was really special. So it started really evolving there. And flash forward to me finally, leaving Nebraska and coming to Nashville, and really didn't have a church to go to much. And I'm trying to find a church and all that stuff. And me and my buddies started touring a lot. And a lot of the guys that I would hire used to be previous worship leaders. My guitar player was, a drummer and the keyboard player at the time were both ex-worship leaders. And I just started propping up where we were. And if we were in a van, we were propped up, and I would do a little hymn every Sunday and post it. If we were in the bus, do the same thing. If we were sitting at a park bench, wherever. And then I finally started bringing my guitar player in, and some of my other bandmates, and they fell in love with it too. And never thought it was going to take off. It was just something we wanted to do because we weren't home on Sundays. It was the only thing that we could do to have a little bit of church on the road. And so I just started doing them and doing them consistently for years. And then they started taking off like crazy. And then COVID hit and nobody was going to church, right? Mm-hmm. So I started doing like 30 minutes worth of hymns every Sunday and going live to where we could interact with everybody and talk to them. And if they wanted to hear something, I'd try and play it for them, even though I was scrolling through like, yeah, let me figure it out real quick, and fell in love with it. And we were number 9 in the world for live streaming with those Sunday sessions. Number 9 in the world. It was the coolest thing, after all that was going on, when we got the word that we were number 9 and the Opry was like number 1, right? For live streaming during that time. And I'm coming in to play the Opry one night, and I walk in the back doors, and they have the back doors of the Opry with the wrap on it, and it has the live streaming chart on it, and it said Opry, and then it said my name right there. I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. It was so fun, to know that those things took off like that was pretty special.
Well, you guys sound so amazing. I'm not surprised that it took off.
Thank you very much. It's fun, it's a labor of love. We love doing it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and speaking of music, Lucas, what can your fans look forward to musically now that we're in 2024?
Man, I'm glad you asked that. We literally just had meetings about all the new music that's coming out. We're in the studio right now recording probably going to be hopefully my favorite record of all time, because it's kind of taking me back to the roots of how I grew up in rural community, like in the farmlands, and growing up like that with all my farming buddies. And a lot of these songs have those roots intertwined in them. I mean, one of the songs is called Farm Hand, and I've really got high hopes for that song. I've got another song called Be a Man, where it's how my dad and uncles taught me how to be a man, and everything that goes along with that, from how to treat a woman to how to respect the people around you, and all those things, and just songs that are super meaningful to me. And I hope they mean something to somebody that hears them along the way.
Well, I'll say this, Lucas. I mean, just if it's, the past is any indication, you can tell someone to get lost and it's fun. You can tell someone to go nowhere and it's fun. So exactly. I can't wait to see what's coming next.
I love it. See, you're getting it.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to see what you've got coming out in 2024, Lucas. And we really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story and your music and your love for people and positivity and the outdoors. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you guys. And thank you for doing what you do and being that positive inspiration for people out there, and the light, just being a light for people. That's really cool. I appreciate you. Anytime you guys want me to come on, I'm happy to be here.
Definitely. We'll keep in touch. And when you want to promote something, you just let us know and you'll come right back. And folks, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you next week.
I ain't gonna see the stars shine bright looking up in them downtown lights. I ain't gonna feel the wind in your hair till you hit that back road ride. I know I feel it. But we can get back in the bed of a Chevy and sip that sunset like tequila. In a heartbeat, you and me, we can be painting the night like a Mona Lisa. A little spot, a little off the map, a little gas, it'll get there fast. I know where nowhere is, way out where love grows thick, right past that welcome sign where the country songs live. Find us that nice and slow, way down rolling on green to go. No closing time, no last call, no, we ain't gotta go home. We can go all night, all night, all night long. I know where nowhere is, way out where love grows thick, right past that welcome sign where the country songs live. Find us that nice and slow, way down some older road. Gonna sound good to get a little gig on fix. If you wanna go, I know where nowhere is. Somewhere off the map, somewhere off that beaten path, we can disappear, baby, just like that. Nobody gonna know where we at. No. I know where nowhere is, way out where love grows thick, right past that welcome sign where the country songs live. Find us that nice and slow, way down some older road. Gonna sound good to get a little gig on fix. If you wanna go, I know where nowhere is. Somewhere off the map, somewhere off that beaten path, we can disappear, baby, just like that. I know where nowhere is.
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exeter, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.